As the IndyCar paddock prepares for a second doubleheader in as many weeks, the IndyCar iRacing Series heads into round 9 with a new championship leader out front. Adam Crane has taken over at the front from the Swede Hugo Olsen, but as we head back to a short track, who will come out on top at the fastest short track on the planet? Let's go racing under the lights for the Iowa Corn 225. Thank you for joining us here on RaceBot TV, live coverage on the iRacing Esports Network of this IndyCar iRacing Series, and as ever, I'm joined in the virtual commentary booth by Sumil Arora. And Sumil, round number 9 here, heading back to the short track. How excited are you for what should be a very fun race similar to what we saw at Richmond just a few weeks ago?
Exactly, short tracks have just their own charm, and this particular race, I can't wait to see how this plays out. We can expect a few cautions, that's for sure, but in the end, the racing is going to be pretty tight.
Tight indeed, and there you can see the entire schedule up on your screen, but we'll quickly jump over and take a look at the live standings. Mentioned it off the top, but Hugo Olsen, he slipped from the lead. He's missed the last week, and Sumil, Adam Crane continuing to be very solid here, and he's jumped to the top, and that's what happens here. The IndyCar Series requires drivers to be very diverse and to accumulate good success, and Adam has done that throughout the season. And finally, as we start to head towards the end of the season, he's put himself out front.
He really has, and it's all about proving yourself in multiple different types of racetracks. It may be short speedways like Iowa, perhaps super speedways like Indianapolis, and sometimes even road courses like Road America. And Adam Crane so far seems to be the guy who's done it all best, but Hugo Olsen is sharp on his tails here.
Yeah, and there you can see some other drivers. The top 10, some strong drivers there. Some newcomers to the IndyCar community as well, but qualifying continues to roll on. Just a reminder off the top here, live timing is available, timing71.org. You can head over there and check out a lot more detail than has typically been able to see. But there on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see currently on pole position, Marco Aurelio Brazil, and 20 seconds here, Sumo. Not any of the drivers still on track, but you know, what are you expecting? Marco has been very quick in the short run performance on these short ovals, but the long run pace has been a little bit tougher for him to find.
It really has been. Marco Brazil is somewhat of an ace in this particular category. He comes in, blitzes the field with his lap times, and eventually consistency has been a little bit of a problem. But on the speedways, Brazil is untouchable. I mean, he's quite a fast driver. We saw that the last few races as well. The pole position for him, well, it's a bit of a tricky position to be in because in the real world Indy cars, the winner of pole position hasn't really won a race over here for the last 7-8 odd years. So Brazil in a tricky position, but surely he has the abilities to get that done here.
He does indeed, and with that said, the drivers lining up on the pit lane. We'll go ahead and take a look at the starting grid for the race. It is Marco Aurelio Brazil on pole position with a 16.225, and then Liam Quinn for Team Talent lining up next to him, 0.008 of a second behind. Team Talent 2 and 3 there, but then you've got Christian Steele as well from Team I5G. He's going to line up at the end of row number 2. Going through the field, Adam Crane, championship leader. Lining up next to him, the Canadian Andrew Kinsella. Then row number 4, it's going to be John Downing and Chris Wilty. Continue scrolling through the field, Laura Gerhardt, Vincent Wallen, Christopher Block, David Saranza. You can see the spread here, about a quarter of a second right there to 12th place. So despite a short track, it's still a decent amount of a gap here, but a big surprise. Connie Naslin, Cesar Manzado, Daniel Naventa, and then Matt Pavelski, broken arrow with I5G and Apex Racing team driver all the way down in P number 16. You got Luis Gonzalez Nunez, Matt Houston, Tim Doyle, who, you know, Subal, that might be the biggest surprises. The final 2 names just scroll through on your list. Tim Doyle, who obviously won that race in Richmond, all the way at the back of your field. He's going to have a lot of work to do here.
He really has, but he proved the last time out as well that even if you go a lap down, you can come back and go fighting and win at the short circuit. Again, it's so easy to go a couple of laps down over here considering how short the track is. And if you go for a pit stop on the green flags, you could easily find yourself all the way at the back. But trust me, if you have a good car and if you have all the confidence in the world within you, you can get things done over here.
And Tim actually came down from, I believe it was 2 laps down, Sumal, so like you say, anything can happen at these races. You've got to stick in there and stick with it. And all the cars just lining up on the pit lane now. You can see the pace truck's going to pull away. I think we're going to have 2 pace laps here. And it is going to be Marco Aurelio Brazil who's going to lead us to the green. And there you can see them all just fanning out. Sumo, obviously preparing for the doubleheader in real life this weekend. The first race in just a matter of hours, about 4 hours time from now. What are you expecting? Not just, later this weekend, but here today.
It's going to be so much fun, so many races to watch out for, especially this particular one is the one I'm actually not been able to wait for. I expect a little bit of carnage, but in the end we have seen these drivers, they can produce some tremendous racing, and that is exactly what I expect in this 225 lap race that we've got here today.
225 laps, so it's almost a full race distance. Both races this weekend are going to be 250 laps, reduction of 50 from their usual race length, and I think, Sumo, that poses its own challenges here because, a lot of these IndyCar races are longer, but that's a long, long race, especially when you get closer to those real race distances.
Exactly. For all these drivers, it isn't exactly a major physical test, but mentally it gets so challenging because you're fighting through traffic all the time, and it's not as if you have a big space to, come off and breathe. Unlike the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we've got a long straight. Over here, you're cornering and cornering and cornering all the time, so your mind is consistently working hard. So mental fatigue as well, that could be a major factor as we reach the final parts of this race, Arjuna.
Yeah, and potentially, like you mentioned a little bit earlier, there are cautions that will play into this, and that's obviously going to shake up the pit window, and I think we'll see some interesting pit strategies playing out. 21 cars in your field. It is going to be the 4 Marco Brazil representing Tent Factory Sim Racing. take us to the pole position and hoping to convert that pole position into something good. But away we go straight away. It is Marco Brazil. Oh, and straight away there's been an issue. Andreas Eicher spun and brought out the caution, and Sumo, we talked about it not taking long for the caution to come out, but straight away out of turn number 2, one of the bigger drivers in this series, Team Talent's Andreas Eicher, he's proving just how difficult this racetrack can be.
I mean, normally at a short speedway you expect green flag running, in at least in the real world series, but over here, one lap, how much earlier could you expect a caution like that one? And that's a big blow for Andreas Eicher. Remember, he is one of the top drivers in this championship, and going all the way back down, that's a major problem. Again, anything can happen here at Iowa, but that certainly doesn't help out.
And there you can actually just see the tail end of the incident. We'll grab one more look at it here. There you can actually see him spinning into the traffic, and car's doing a good job to just avoid left and right there, Sumo. But grab another look here. Grab an aerial look. And there you can see there, he's sticking very low and he loses it all by himself. One car jumping down onto the apron, and, you know, fortunately about, I think, one car clipped him, resulting in that front wing damage, but Andreas Eicher getting very fortunate there.
He really did, but the problem over here is he couldn't exactly get his tire temperatures warmed up, because when you actually go for a green flag start, and it's easy to forget that these cars have 700 horsepower, you put the power on a bit too early on, and that can be the perfect example of what happens as Daniel Neventa dodges out from the carnage as well. So again, lots of things to consider, but for Andreas Eicher, he has to do it all over again now. Thankfully, it's only lap 1, and he doesn't really have, what, 20 or 30 laps to recover from this one now.
Yeah, still a long way to go. 225 laps, and we got the first caution on lap number 1. Let's hope that's not a sign of further things to come, but what that does mean is you jump through the field. Adam Crane, Sumo, currently up into 3rd position, so straight away off the start, championship leader. We haven't really talked about Hugo Olsen the last few weeks. He's, you know, obviously had some other personal matters to attend to. Obviously, real life takes priority, Sumo, but, you know, as a result, Adam Crane, especially using some of the points he got last week in a very strong field at Montreal, I mean, just slowly accumulating points, and, you know, that's what you need to do. Put yourself in these good positions and continue to just build up some good championship points.
Exactly. I wouldn't really say picking up the scraps, but Adam Crane, he's just filled in the vacuum that Hugo Olsen has left for the last couple of weeks, and he's filled it rather well. And in P3 at this stage, he has a good chance of getting a good result over here. And we've seen from Adam Crane, he's a rather smart driver when it comes to his strategy. I mean, he can take time off, he can understand when's the right time to attack, and when he should actually go back and sit back and defend. So Crane, his intelligence will come into a big picture over here at a speedway like Iowa, where you need to be mentally very strong.
Well, we only went green for about 2 corners, but there you can see there's been some movement. You've got drivers like Jesper Orman who have chosen not to come down the pit lane, and then you have other drivers, everyone from 15th place on backwards. So Laura Gerhard, that driver, losing 6 positions so far. Well, they've come down the pit lane, choosing to do something slightly different here, Sumo, but slightly interesting because the fuel window about 70 laps here, and, you know, to come in when you've barely had a corner or 2 to go, I mean, seems like it might be a little bit early.
A little bit early is probably one of the biggest understatements that I've ever heard, Arjun. You know what? It's only been 1 lap and only a couple of corners, as you rightly mentioned, so the load on the tires may not be anything at all. But interestingly, I haven't really noticed whether Laura Gerhard had a major incident in the first lap. I mean, if she, you know, maybe just slid off and maybe had a blister on the tire, that could be a good explanation of trying to come down to the pit lane, as Andreas Eicher has done right now. But if that wasn't really the case, it's a decision that somewhat confuses me at this stage, you know. Only 1 lap, that's a bit too less.
And Andreas, I believe, actually coming down for a 2nd stop this time around. So just trying to maybe just see if that car is fully repaired. You can see him there, I believe, getting some additional repairs, and he's going to be hoping just to try and get as much of the repairs done before the pace car pulls back around, and that's going to be something that just repeats. But unfortunate, Sumo, you qualify all the way up in 3rd place, and I'm sure he's kicking himself under the helmet right now, but, you know, 225 laps to lose it and bin it like that on lap number 1, not really how do you want to start your race.
Absolutely, he all has to do the work all over again from the beginning. But thankfully for him, if he has a fast car, which he certainly seems to have by qualifying in P3, he has a very, very good opportunity to get something done. Because Iowa, traditionally it's a track where recovery drives are rewarded quite a bit. I mean, recoveries are possible, as we have seen time and again in the real world IndyCar races. So for him, maybe it may be a bit tricky, of course, considering where he is right now, but the nature of the track may be such that because of all the cautions, if he stays clean, a recovery is well and truly possible for Ike. Yet again though, not the ideal way to start a race.
The lights are off on the pace truck, so he's going to pull back down into the pit lane this time around, and Marco Brazil going to try and jump from the field once again, and this time going to go a little bit longer, and a pace truck pulling in just there, taking a bit longer. Marco's going to get a good jump here. He's pulled away quite nicely, and there you can see further back in your field, second and third, Adam Crane now getting on the tail end, but as a result of these single file restarts, the field has gotten quite spread out, but it's going to be Adam Crane down to the inside of Liam Quinn, and going into turn number 3 and 4, he's going to get the position done, he's going to slide up the track, but Liam Quinn not choosing to do anything. Championship leader now into second place, Sumal.
Good moves being made by Adam Crane over here, and as you can see right now, he's on the prowl for Marco Aurelio Brazil at this stage as well. Crane having all the pace in the world, and we are seeing quite a few battles in the midfield as well.
Yeah, but out front, Adam Crane has already caught your leader, and he's trying to go to work. He's taking a look to that outside line. He's going to just try and build up some momentum and maybe take a look to the inside, but Marco going very defensive there. He's going to try and hold that inside line. The track temperature is very cool as a result of these nighttime conditions and those lights being on, but Adam Crane steamingly stuck on that outside. We'll jump back because John Downing is going side by side with Chris Wilty. So Chris Wilty now up into 6th, and John Downing getting a little bit squirrely off the wall there, Subal.
Oh, they're all getting argy-bargy at this stage. You don't really need to get so naughty on lap 10, because if you do that, you may as well end up with the second caution of the day. But the racing has been superb so far. No major drama, no major accidents so far, but boy, my goodness, they're going side by side rather intensely.
And now Matt Pavelski is up into 8th place, so it's just quickly slicing through the field right now, and John Downing going backwards very, very quickly, so potentially some damage there, but we'll jump back out front. Adam Crane really haranguing the race leader, and I think Marco's starting to struggle a little bit more. And what's happening now, Sumo, is you see there, you can see a great shot. In fact, the top 5, Christian Steele at the very rear of this pack, they've broken away by about 2 seconds from anyone else. And you know, right now, I think if you're content to just let this gap build up and see if you can have a nice green flag run, that might be a nice opportunity for some of the race leaders, as Adam Crane now has Liam Quinn to the outside.
Absolutely. I mean, we normally don't discuss things like this on lap number 14, but traffic is going to be such a significant factor, especially when you consider the pace that these guys are lapping with. Here he comes, though, Crane to the outside, and look at all the pressure. These 5 guys, they may have broken away from the others, but they are so closely to each other, and the battling over here is going to be virtually perpetual, I assure you.
And we jump back to 5th place and Christian Steele. And Christian not usually in these IndyCar iRacing Series races, but good to see him here and running in 5th place right now. And this Sumil might be a nice opportunity to maybe save your tires as well. So you can see on board Christian Steele, he's lifting a little bit, jumping down the gears to stay in that optimal power range, but being just very smooth on the wheel. And ultimately, that's what you want.
That's exactly what you want over here at Iowa. It's all about your momentum, because if you have the right amount of momentum, especially considering that there are not exactly many straights over here, you can just roll off and you can get all the run on the other car up ahead of you, and that is exactly what he seems to be doing right now. But again, the outside line, Arjuna, is being worked quite a bit over here.
And this time it's Powerslide Motorsports' Andrew Kinsella looking to the outside for 3rd position. He's got it, in fact. Liam Quinn having to get a little bit too loose off the corner exit, and now Christian Steele's going to take a look as well, but now Christian's actually in fact going to look towards the inside, so now actually going to try the opposite thing to what we just saw happen. Slides up the track a little bit, but that's what happens. Unfortunately, the momentum on the outside just a little bit too strong, and I think you said it, Sumo, that outside might be the place to be.
Exactly, but especially in turn 1 and 2. So what really happens here at Iowa is turn 1 and 2, you get a lot of momentum off the outside line, but not exactly on turn 3 and 4, because the outside, it just leaves you with not enough grip and you end up struggling on the exit. So for turn 1 and 2, be on the outside, and for turn 3 and 4, you better be on the inside, because that will help you make sure that you get the best laps, and then just like Kinsella, you can close up on your competitors.
And Adam Crane has actually been struggling a little bit, so the gap to your race leader there, you can see it on your screen, it's about 9/10 of a second, but you know, at a track like this, Sumo, when you're putting in 16-second lap times, 1 second is a huge margin here. So Marco Brazil, he's got that clean air, and we talked about it, you know, when we were talking about the grid, he's got that clean air. He's been a little bit more inconsistent in traffic. He's really got to make good use of it, and that's what he's doing right now.
He really is, and just putting out a gap of around 1 second at such a circuit, it is absolutely incredible to see what Marco Brazil is going to do. But as you rightly mentioned, with doing something quite like that, you also face the trouble of the traffic. And Marco Aurelio Brazil, he will just have to navigate it pretty much like he's in a film chase, because the traffic over here, considering how tight the track can get at times, is going to be a major headache for all these drivers. So Brazil already lapping Andreas Eikestad. Wow.
Yeah, we'll jump back to your leader, and that is Andreas Eik. In fact, you are right. So he qualified in 3rd position. He's now down a lap, and one more car unfortunately going a lap down here. But something interesting to note, Sumo, well, Matt Pavelski qualified quite low down your field, currently has the fastest lap of the race at 16.296. He's currently also up into P number 6, and once again we'll put up those movers and shakers on the left-hand side of your screen, and there you can see Matt Pavelski, 10 places gained, all on track at a place like Iowa. You know, Team I5G, this is what they do. They love this IndyCar. They found a great setup. Now he's got a little bit of gap out front to just try and claw back.
At times, the fastest lap can be a bit of a gimmick. You know, when you come in, you put one good lap and everyone says, oh, you're the fastest driver on the track. But Matt Pavelski is attached a lot of claim to that as well, because Pavelski is not only just put in one good lap, he's also gone in and made up 10 positions. So it's not just a one-off pace that he's got over here. It's well sustained. And at this moment, Pavelski seems to be in a rather good place, clocking in faster lap times. And it's all about the momentum over here. You get one good lap, you can repeat it for 5 or 6 or 7 and 8 good laps. And that result can be Pavelski, a driver like Pavelski, in fact, gaining up 10 and 12 positions. So seems to be in a good place with Marco Aurelio Brazil as well, doing quite a good job at the front with Crane right behind.
Yeah, and someone else who's just making their way through the field is Tim Doyle. There you can see the number 2 machine trying to just hold off Vincent Wallin, and Tim Doyle, the winner at Richmond, well, qualified quite far back as well. He's into 11th place now, Sumo, but I mean, it's going to take some Herculean efforts for him to replicate that win. He did come back from 2 laps down at Richmond, but you know, right now 10 seconds behind your leader. Well, he's in danger of going a lap down very early in this one.
The thing is, if there's anyone who can do, if there's anyone who can come up with a performance quite like that one, it has to be Tim Doyle. Lap down or not, he just finds a way to come through all the time. And if he's got the pace, which he seems to be getting at this stage, he will be able to come back. Again, 10 seconds is a major gap, but I'm sure he'll be able to claw back as Christian Steele is on the charge now.
Christian Steele was looking to the inside of Liam Quinn, because Liam Quinn has really started to slow up now. They're going to have to make their way around the lap traffic, and Christian will be remembering that his teammate Matt Pavelski is on his tail as well. So he'll take a look back to the inside once again, and into turn number 1. He's getting a little bit squirrely as well. Liam just moves up a little bit. They're expecting that check up a little bit, but nothing happening. I think right now, you said at the start, Sumo, you have to get to that outside to really make it happen, even if you're making your car work with those in-car tools and adjustment, because obviously all of these drivers have that weight jacket and ARB adjustments at their disposal. In fact, Christian Steele is finally going to be able to make that move happen into 3 and 4. Liam Quinn, I think, just helping him there, Sumo.
Yeah, pretty much, but now they encounter traffic, which could be a major problem. So whenever you get checked up in a line quite like that one, your awareness has to be on key, because you pretty much have no idea where the other driver is. So it's all on your instinct and just on how good you are at checking the mirrors. So for these drivers, it's not just about driving their own race. Knowing where the other car is going to be super crucial, because if you don't, the barriers over here will welcome you with open arms, and you know the end result, everyone.
We do indeed. We take another look back at Tim Doyle, because he's now trying to make another move happen. He's just got past Jesper Orman, so up into the top 10 for a previous race winner, and he's got a few more cars in front of him now. Christopher Block's going to be the next target for him, but just 4 seconds down the road, there's your race leader, Marco Aurelio Brazil. There's another lapped car he's going around. Soon you can see the lap gaps just coming up on your screen right now. That is what you talk about, consistency. Even in the traffic, Marco is seemingly able to just find a way to be able to carry that momentum lap on lap. Sorry, Sumo, some technical issues there, and we'll get your thoughts on that just in a little bit. How about now? Do we have you now?
Oh yeah, perfect. So Marco Aurelio Brazil seems to be driving like James Bond in a car chase. Throw whatever you want at him, he's just doing a phenomenal job of dodging everything, and the gap just seems to be growing and growing and growing. Look at that, he got 1/10 on the last lap. At a short circuit like Iowa, 1/10 is pretty much like an eternity, and Marco Aurelio Brazil is pulling out those gaps like he's pulling out toffees from his pocket at this stage. So fantastic driving, but look at those swarm of cars ahead of him. This is going to be trouble.
Yeah, that's a good 7 cars going through turn number 1 and 2 in front of your leader.
Boy.
That is going to be a hornet's nest if I've ever seen one. But we'll jump back to the battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, because it is Adam Crane who's still defending from Andrew Kinsella. But look at that, Christian Steele down on the inside now, and he's trying to get up into those podium places and trying to get up into 2nd place now. So Christian Sumo is finding a way to make that inside line work.
Exactly, it may have a lot to do with the setup of the car. Remember, in these sort of short circuits, the way you set up your car is pretty much the holy grail of winning. It's not the draft, it's not your awareness, it's just the setup. Because if you have a good car, as Christian Steele seems to be having at this stage, you can just work the inside line as well all the time, and you can gain the extra edge on the other guy. So Steele making things work as he now approaches a big pack of cars. How is he going to deal this one? It's going to be critical to see how this one plays out.
And Marco Brazil has already made his way through, but there you can see Adam Crane got very checked up in the traffic, and Andrew Kinsella down onto the inside through turns number 3 and 4. I do believe Adam Crane's going to roll that outside line, but is that going to give Christian Steele a chance to take a look? Not happening there. In fact, Christian just letting off the throttle a little bit. He sticks down on the inside line, which he's been preferring, but we talk about the traffic, and once again, just getting checked up, and this time Andrew Kinsella with a much better run. Not able to get deep enough instead, but now here comes Christian Steele. That's the run I was talking about. He looks to the inside. He's already clear, and I think that lapped car in front, Sumo, is going to act as a block on Andrew Kinsella.
Exactly, Kinsella is just going to be sitting behind over there, frustrated, thinking about when this lap car will move out, because that has essentially cost him the chance to fight back for the position. And now Crane is under pressure as well, Arjuna.
It is Christian Steele who's now looking to get up into 2nd place. So this Team I5G car has really come alive, and his teammate Matt Pavelski is only about 0.7 of a second behind as well, but back down to the inside line. And as they approach traffic, that's Stefan Walder in front, who had a rough race last time out. He's going to just hold that outside line and give Adam Crane a little bit too much issues. And Christian Steele, he's up into 2nd place, and now Adam Crane, championship leader, he's having Andrew Kinsella looking to the inside as well. But Andrew, you talk about the setup, Sumo. Andrew doesn't seem to have that setup that works as well on the inside line.
Exactly, so many variations, so many variables to consider in this particular race, the setup being the prime of them. And now we can just see Kinsella trying to work the outside line, where Crane goes for the inside and just checks back up to the outside as well. So Kinsella trying to be on the draft, but he's taking a different line, and look, he's getting a better run now, or is he?
Well, he may be, but we're going to jump back to the battle for the race lead, because guess what? Christian Steele, he's running his way to the front. Marco Brazil, he didn't see it coming, and now Team I5G looking to get back to the point of a race. I believe the last time they were doing this in the IndyCar iRacing Series, other than a brief pole position lap from Brendan Lichtenberg at Road America, was the Indy 500, but there goes Christian Steele to the outside. There is lap traffic in front of him. I believe that's Tim Doyle, though, so that car is going to be quick enough and just give him the inside line where he wants to be, and Christian Steele up into the race lead, Sumo. It's been a charge of a drive since that yellow flag.
Absolutely, Christian Steele has just been on fire, and the gap that we saw with Marco Aurelio Brazil disappearing in a matter of seconds. So it just gives a good example over here. Although you may be dominant, although you may have the best car, when you come to traffic, even the best can be reduced to what, mere bystanders.
And we talk about good cars. Well, Christian Steele's teammate up into 5th position right now, so Matt Pavelski up into the top 5, looking to try and get into the podium places. We also can look the battle for 3rd place, because there's Andrew Kinsella, and you can see Adam Crane at the back of the shot. He's lost out quite a lot through this traffic, and Andrew Kinsella is going to try and use the traffic now to jump up into 2nd place. Marco Brazil down on that inside, really struggling, and Andrew Kinsella is getting stuck here, Sumo.
Poor Kinsella. It's been the 2nd time in, 5 or 10 laps that he's stuck behind the traffic, and he's not able to make the move that he really wants to. At the end of this race, I can imagine he's going to be visibly frustrated, but he still seems to have a good car, and guess what? He's made the move, so Kinsella now in P2, and now Steele has a fight on his hands.
So he's up into P2 and Adam Crane down into P number 5. So Matt Pavelski up into P number 4. It's all happening here, Sumo. Short track racing, who knew? This is what we expected at at Richmond rather. And boy, is Iowa coming to deliver. This has been fantastic racing so far. 57 laps. Still got a long way to go though. Christian Steele, Team i5G driver out front. He's got a 1.7 second advantage to the Canadian Andrew Kinsella and Sumo. We're approaching the pit stop window. The pit window about 70 laps. So, with that first lap caution, maybe 74, 75 laps we're looking at here.
Exactly, the drivers could be coming into pit road rather soon, but that time can actually fly by very quickly. So the next 10 laps, it'll literally go past in the matter of a few blinks of your eyes. So things could be escalating over here very quickly. But what has happened to Marco Aurelio Brazil? He was leading so well, and now Pavelski gets past him as well. So Marco Brazil, something just seems to be going wrong, or he switched down a gear for some reason. But Brazil losing positions like a rock falling down from a mountain.
Indeed, and we'll jump back to the live pictures there, and you can see the gap between third and fourth place already up to 0.8 of a second. And Sumo, I think this is what I mentioned with that clean air. Marco has a car that works fantastic in clean air, but once he caught that heavy traffic, he really started to suffer. He was sticking down onto the inside line, and he's paying the price right now, continuing to slide back. And in fact, he's gonna have to start worrying about Adam Crane behind at some point.
Exactly, and what happens is when Marco Aurelio Brazil comes into the pretty much the draft of the other car up ahead of him, especially in the case of a corner, the car can just understeer so horribly because of all the dirty air involved in this one. So Brazil, not only will he be going slower, he will also be chewing out his tires far more. So towards the end of his stint, you can just see his lap times dropping and all the other cars picking up where he left off.
There are some battles further through your field. Just take a look there. It was Cesar Manzado who got past David Soranzo. So these are drivers who are in that top 10 of the championship. They're fighting over 13th and 14th place, not where they would have wanted to be to get some good championship points. As in fact, that was Cesar Manzado in front who went a little bit sideways. And Sumo, what a fantastic job there, able to gather it up and save it.
Wow, that was superb. I mean, it definitely deserves yet another replay, but the way he kept the car together, wow. Here we have the replay once again, comes through. Boy, that was intense. The traffic, it can just snap on you at any given moment, and Manzaro keeps hold of his car. I don't know how. That's some properly good driving right there.
Yeah, I think he got a little bit caught out by one car who was coming down onto pit lane there. It was okay for a moment, and then maybe just put in a little bit too much steering lock. He has slid through the field a little bit more, but we'll jump back to Andrew Kinsella. We'll take a look at this gap to the lead, and Sumo, you'll notice something. It's over 2.2 seconds because it's slowly just been coming up lap on lap, and there you can see there was one big lap where the traffic really made some inroads, but right now i5G seemingly with a great setup as Matt Pavelski continues to hunt down Andrew Kinsella right behind.
Exactly, but we've seen time and again over here at short speedways that when the other driver behind can switch a gear up, those gaps can become virtually irrelevant considering how much time can be gained up. Pavelski's closing in right now, so Kinsella, he would be hoping that he can fight for the lead, but right now he has to defend for a position that he holds right now. So Pavelski attacking with all his might.
He is really attacking, goes down all the way to the inside, and there's a car coming out of the pit lane, going to stay all the way on the inside, not going to be a factor at all. And these two drivers running that same line, finding clean air can be very, very important. And so we're going to see exactly how Matt chooses to approach this, how he's going to try and set this up. It was Will Vincent, who we were talking to a few days ago, Sumo, who put this, perfectly. Compare an Indianapolis to an Iowa. Well, the lap times might be different, but it often takes around the same amount of time for moves to be set up and action to happen. So while it might take 1 or 2 laps at Indianapolis, here it may take 4, 5, or 6 laps. It's all just about figuring out what you want to do. As I do believe Andrew Kinsella is actually coming down onto pit lane. There you can see he is slowing all the way down, and that is the much safer way to do it, Subal.
Exactly, otherwise you could just end up with a big speed penalty, or maybe even just be involved in all the other cars coming down low. So Kinsella being the one in the lead pack to be blinking in first, the question is, when will the other guys come to the pit lane as well? So remember, it was only a minute or two ago that we spoke about cars coming down pit road. Now already the leaders are in. When will the likes of Brazil and Crane come down to pit road? That is going to be the question of the hour, and it's going to be so much fun to see how strategy plays out in this one. Christian
Steele down onto pit lane, Matt Pavelski down onto pit lane, Adam Crane also coming onto the lane, I do believe. So we see quite a few cars, and there you can see the length of the stops that we're expecting here. So about 36, 37 seconds total pit lane time. The average full pit stop cycle, about 10 seconds in the box as well. And Andrew Kinsella going to come out and cycle into some clean air, and that's what's so important, Sumo. You come out in this clean air, it just makes those first laps of getting the tires up to temperature and pressure that much easier, and you just build up the momentum. And we'll stay on board with Andrew Kinsella. In fact, we'll see where he cycles out, because there is Matt Pavelski right behind, so no undercut has occurred right there.
Exactly. Kinsella comes up with a very good run up ahead, and look at all the clean air that he's got. He will just be breathing in a breath of fresh air and enjoying all the air that he's got, because right now he can lay down the gauntlet and come up with some phenomenal laps on the track as he's doing at this stage. Remember, only a couple of laps ago this track seemed to be as crowded as the Los Angeles highway on a Monday evening. Right now though, it is as empty as a country B road I must say, and Kinsella is enjoying every single second of it.
They're all coming down pit lane right now. Stefan Walder, the last car to come in from the lead, and so Christian Steele will re-inherit the race lead. And you just wait one more second. You'll see the gap on your screen between the two leading cars. There you can see 3.7 seconds. And Sumo, they were about the same time on the pit lane. So Andrew Kinsella's strategy here of coming in one lap earlier than the leader, it's cost him about 1.6 seconds.
And that has put him all the way back with a lot more effort to do at this stage. Christian Steele, we saw him having a phenomenal car at this particular racetrack, and Kinsella, he's no slouch, but coming back 3.5 seconds under green flag conditions, boy, that is going to be a tricky challenge considering how good of a driver Steele is.
Something has happened to Matt Pavelski, who is down on the lane right now. Doesn't appear to be damaged. Oh, but that's a shame. He was out in third place. Maybe a speeding penalty. And
oh, dear.
Team I5G, they were first and third, but right now it is just Christian Steele out on track for them. But he does lead by a nice, healthy margin. Sumo, I'm not sure what happened there to Matt. I'm trying to see if I can see anything on my event viewer, but boy, that's a shame.
That really is. Pavelski was going in so hard, and he was almost on the tail of Kinsella at one point. Seeing him on the pit road at this stage is such a sad sight, because we were expecting a big fight for second place, if not the lead, of course, later on in this race. So you'll soon have an idea about what happened to Pavelski, but Christian Steele is putting the banner up high, and my goodness, he's doing such a good job at the top. I wonder how he set up his car. In the post-race interviews, I'm not sure whether he'll give us the answers, but my goodness, I'm sorry, he's just put in such a good few laps, and he really has a secret to success.
Oh, yellow flag. Oh, there's a big crash.
Oh, no. Steele, commentator's curse. Oh, no.
And Christian Steele came up on the scene of the crime, and unfortunately, an unwitting member. Oh, my lord. Sumo, you just cursed him, and I think Christian Steele right now. Oh, we're going to grab a replay here. It's Daniel Noventa was the other car, and I believe it was coming out of pit lane, so cold tires might have been a factor here. You can see him sticking quite low on the left-hand side, just losing it very early, and oh, that's a sickening impact for your race leader.
What can I say? Christian Steele was just having the car of the day. He was leading from the front and had a superb gap at the top, 3.5 seconds. But that's when these short speedways bike. When something happens right ahead of you, your reaction times need to be superb. And Christian Steele's wasn't. He goes into the space. Well, the SpaceX astronauts will be proud, and Steele has just given them a big high right here. That was a mighty big accident.
Yeah, that was, unfortunately, we'll go in slow motion here, and you can see there's no time to react here. He's off the throttle already. You can see the revs dropping on the steering wheel, but there's just no time to respond, and your race leader, who'd just driven through the field, out in seemingly innocuous little spin.
I'll take away all the euphemisms over here. Had this happened in real life, it would near certainly be a death for any single driver involved, as harsh as it may sound. But for Christian Steele, barely any reaction times. We could see him going down a couple of gears at that very moment, but at the short speedways, there's barely any room at the track as well. So regardless of whatever you may try to do, it had to happen, and it was so unfortunate for Steele. I mean, but if you see time and again, especially at a short circuit, we saw that last time out at Richmond as well. Even though as a leader, you may be involved in an accident so huge, there is a chance of coming back. Iowa historically has been a circuit where comebacks have been quite a scene to watch out for. So for Christian Steele, it may be a big setback, but he's not down and out. He's got the car, he's got the pace, and if he's got the self-belief, it certainly is doable over here.
I think, unfortunately, Sumo, that damage to the car is a little bit too terminal unless he's able to get that spare car out there in a little bit quick time. I think, unfortunately, Christian is going to be out of this one.
No.
His teammate Matt Pavelski also jumping into our YouTube chat to let us know. Unfortunately, an issue with a lapped car on pit entry. So 2 i5G drivers out in just a matter of laps. And it was going so well. We had such a nice green flag run going, Sumil. But now we're going to have to reset and just recharge and see what happens from here. It is Andrew Kinsella who's leading the race. And I think right now we're going to go back to green. And everyone is just going to have to kind of calm down a little bit as we've got a little bit of a break before that traffic is going to really become an issue again.
Exactly. We saw a lot of good green flag running at the back over there. So now for these guys, they will be using the best advantage of the clean air. But before you know it, in a case of the laps of 10 or 15 laps down, they will find the traffic in the end as well. Now, Arjuna, there's one thing I'm very curious to see how it plays out, because we're getting this caution literally at the end of the pit window. So are we going to see guys going in for fresher tires because they thought that, oh, you know, maybe I've got my tires damaged in the next couple of laps. Maybe I can just go for fresh rubber and reinstate things because I'm not going to lose out a lot of time in the caution. So to see how things play out, to see how many drivers actually go into pit road right now is going to be very interesting. But one thing's for sure, Kinsella is staying out and he's staying in very clean over here.
We'll see how much time we have. We'll try and quickly just give you a quick recap. There you can see the leader, 13 laps. And take a look on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see, Sumo, there are quite a few cars not on the lead lap. So only 6 cars still on this main lead lap. So out of these cars, Sumo, only 3 of them elected to come down the pit lane. So Marco Brazil, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, and Liam Quinn all came down. So they're on 2-lap-old tires. Well, the race leader, he's on 13-lap-old tires. Adam Crane right behind, 11-lap-old tires. So there's a little bit of variance here, Sumo, but I think it's going to be interesting because Marco Aurelio Brazil is going to be at that front of that mini train.
Exactly, and for Brazil, he kind of had to take that role of the dice because he knew for a fact that he's in such a position where he has to take a gamble and get something done for himself. So a pit stop with fresher tires, that may be his way of trying to express that I'm going to take one risk that may or may not pay off. But for Kinsella and the rest, I mean, if you consider, if the ideal stint is around 70 laps as such, the tires are only, 1/7 of the way down, so that may not really be a major problem for them at this stage, but later on, when these tires start to get old, the likes of Brazil may sort of come back, because they're having tires that are, 10 or 15 laps younger than theirs, so things are going to get interesting as the green flag is in the air, and Kinsella will be ready to get going.
And there's going to be a little bit of a complication here. You can see there's one car who's going to be in between your race leader. And so Andrew Kinsella with a very big jump now. Well, Adam Crane, he's going to have a lapped car to deal with. He's got a lapped car on his outside as well. And you can see Andrew Kinsella, well, he's already built up a 1.4 second advantage. He's going to continue just building this up. And this is the interesting thing. But as I say that, we have a car around. The caution's not out just yet. We're staying green. Everyone's still going. The yellow flag's not out, and he's recovered by himself. So Chris Wiltie, the car who did spin, will try and grab a replay in just a few seconds. But Sumo, fortunately, no yellow flag for this one.
Yeah, exactly. Or it just would have been back to back to back, and the entire flow of this race would have gone for a toss. We get the replay once again over here for Wiltie. Comes down low. I'm assuming he's got cool tires. Puts down the top. Oh, yeah, again. Puts down the power, a bit too early, just as we saw in the early stages of this race. And Wiltie going round and round and round, but thankfully, no yellow flags. In the battle at the top, well, Kinsella has just pulled away and he said to everyone, bye-bye, I'm having a good race over here. But now Crane has pulled back up again, so 6/10 the gap, Arjuna. Things are going to get fairly acrimonious over here, I feel.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Let's jump back to the battle for P number 3, because there you can see Marco Brazil. Liam Quinn has now passed Luis Gonzalez Nunez, so that purple Team Talent machine just at the background of your shot. He's going to try and close up to Marco here, but the gap between the new tires and old tires currently about 1.1 seconds, and as these cars continue to just stretch out on this run, let's see if that gap starts to come down, because obviously, Sumo, Marco is the first car that did come down and take tires.
Exactly, so a little bit of variation that we're seeing in this particular race right here. So Marco Aurelio Brazil, keep a keen eye on how he manages things out right now. So we know he has the pace, we know he has the ability, but is this strategy going to help him out at this stage? That's the big question.
So it's just 6 cars out of the 21 that started, still on the lead lap, but don't just ask Tim Doyle. That doesn't mean there's not cars still in with a chance of winning this thing. Tim Doyle came back from 2 laps down at Richmond to win, and right now I think he will be still hoping, as there's a car getting a little bit tight just up in there. That's turn number 3 and 4. I'm not sure exactly who that was behind Marco Brazil, one of the lapped cars. And Sumo, this is the danger of the short track. You're all intermingled with lap traffic, and if you're Liam Quinn, you saw that happening in front of you, and you got a little bit nervous.
A little bit nervous. Wow, that's quite an understatement right there. For these drivers, going side by side too wide over here through the corners, it's quite a risky thing for them to do. And when they're going side by side and when they're actually coming towards the barriers, and if a lap car does something, let's say rather unusual, your race can be literally wrecked in a matter of milliseconds, because you have no clue what the other car is going to do. So right here, just trusting so much on them, and as a lapped car, you're going to be being waved the blue flag, so you know for a fact that your way out is going to be to drop down low and let the other cars pass. But sometimes they don't behave that way. Sometimes they act a bit like a thorn in a rose as such. So for them, it's all about being aware on the track and trying to avoid all the lap cars, because they can pretty much ruin your race in a matter of moments.
Just ask Christian Steele that, unfortunately, but you take a look at the gap between second and third. It's being chipped away at those new tires, Sumo, proving to be advantageous for the Brazilian. You jump back to your leader and you take a look at the gap between him and second place. You can see the advantage of clean air. It was very important at the start, but after that, Sumo, Andrew Kinsella has a little bit of traffic now he's starting to deal with, and Adam Crane behind him slowly just catching up.
Indeed, so Kinsella under a bit of pressure right here. The gap, of course, at the start of the stint was around 1.4 seconds. Came down to around 0.6 of a second, and now Crane has brought it back up to 9/10. So he's falling back a little bit, but he has the ability to kind of get it back down up again. So these guys are under a bit of fresh air at this stage, so the lap times will be considerably faster. But mind you, Iowa's a rather short track, so within a matter of moments, they will come up to the traffic, and the whole Groundhog Day stage comes up back over again for these guys. You can already see a couple of cars in the frame for them.
You can, and you can see Kinsella's struggling a little bit with the dirty air there. The gaps come down just a little bit. You can see on your screen now 0.7 of a second, but as this battle continues to go on, why don't we, Sumo, bring into the booth Christian Steele, who is leading this race for the longest time, and Christian joining us now. Christian, a very unfortunate incident for you there on track. Just how disappointed are you at how this race turned out?
It was extremely disappointing. We had such an incredible car. I've never driven anything quite like it. We were on rails, and although we didn't have maybe the fastest car in clean air, we could deal with traffic so easily. We could just move around, so it was very easy for us to move up positions. So that was disappointing, and yeah, I just didn't see what was happening in front of me, so like I had no time to react really at Iowa. It's just kind of like that, I guess.
Yeah, we saw you and your teammate Matt Pavelski as well, really just tearing your way through the field. You talk about the strength of your setup, and we obviously don't want you to divulge anything secret, but just how much work and effort went into that setup, and what was some of the things that you guys do that makes it work so well in all kinds of situations, because once you got out front, you really started just pull a gap there.
Yeah, I think one of the things, I'd say I spent like 12 hours on it roughly. One of the things is we really focused on getting our downforce tuned in to the car, so that was a huge plus for us. Is we were able to have a good car, relatively speaking, in clean air, but we didn't have issues moving lines, moving around in traffic, so that really helped. And yeah, the other thing is we had a really solid suspension in terms of chassis. I know a lot of guys are running one setup, and that setup had an issue with the rake, so that car was a lot less consistent over the run. Whereas our car was very consistent, what it was going to do exactly, and it was very predictable, so that really helped as well.
One final question for you, Christian. Obviously, big weekend again for the IndyCar paddock, doubleheader at Iowa. How excited are you for this? And, how much would you want to see stuff like this happening, more in the future as we start to head back towards normality in terms of racing schedules? Because, personally, the concept of the doubleheader, I really love it. It just, that much more excitement, 2 races a weekend. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I really like the idea. I think it's a great way to attract fans to get more value out of their ticket price. And I mean, the only thing I don't like about it is the qualifying format. I think otherwise it's a great way to go for the future of the series. So I hope they do more of it.
Well, Christian, unfortunate for you and your teammate. You both were driving a very strong race, and due to no fault of your own out of it, we hope to see you in the future. This is round 9. We've still got 6 races to go, so hope to see you again in one of these broadcasts soon.
Yep, thanks guys.
So that was Christian Steele, who was leading the race, and while the battle out front, it got close for a second. We were riding on board with your championship leader, Adam Crane, but right now he's going to be looking more in the mirrors because Marco Brazil on those fresher tires, Sumo. He's closed up, and I think now we get to see exactly what it meant, these value of these tires, and Marco being that first car who's done that for a fresh set of rubber.
Believe it or not, we're around 40 or 30 odd laps into the stint that these guys started out, and now is exactly when you see Marco Aurelio Brazil under the influence of those tires, and he's doing such a good job right now. But just as I say that, the field is going to be bunched up once again because it's time for yet another caution, Arjuna. Oh boy,
and
what's that all about?
It's another car upside down, unfortunately. Cesar Manzado, so one of the drivers in the top 5 will grab a replay right here. We'll see exactly what happened. It was coming out of turn number 4, and he turns the car in front of him, gets on top of him, rides him for a little bit, and then, unfortunately, that's what caused that incident. We'll try and see who was that other car involved. It might be John Downing. I'm not sure. We'll try and grab another replay of that, Sumo, but wow.
These are proper top drivers of this championship, and seeing them go out this way, wow, shades of a very, very disturbing accident in the history of IndyCar. Quite a few of them, in fact, and no, that's Cesar Manzado. We know that he's such a good contender in this championship, and that's a bit of a strange mistake because he comes in, taps the back of the other car, and just goes flying around at the back. So, what was that? I mean, was it dirty air coming into picture? Cesar Manzado understeering quite a bit. Did he lose concentration? I don't know, but that just has major implications on this race.
The other car was Chris Wiltie, so not having the strongest race, but we have pit stops under caution and all 3 of the race leaders down at the same time. You also have Liam Quinn and Luis Gonzalez Nunez behind them as well, but we'll see exactly how this plays out here. Guasumo, I think this is one of those important pit stops. Who's going to get that track position? I don't think anything changes out front. It is Andrew Kinsella who pulls away, but it is a change for second place. Marco Brazil, he leapfrog Adam Crane as a result of a slightly shorter time in pit lane.
Now, if I was Marco Aurelio Brazil, on one side I'd be very happy to know, okay, yeah, I've got my second position. But on the other side, he could have actually developed quite a big advantage with his fresher tires towards the end and closed up that gap to Kinsella. So, again, the level playing field has been neutralized and Brazil has to do it all over again. But thankfully for him, he's one position better from last time out. And Kinsella, he will have to check his mirrors because Marco Aurelio Brazil, with fresh tires, he's quite a menace.
Yeah, we'll quickly just show you how Marco got that position, because there you can see the pit lane time for Andrew Kinsella, 35 total time in the box. In the lane. You jump back to Marco Brazil, 34.7. Then you jump to Adam Crane, 37.5. And, Sumo, this is one of those pit lanes which is curved. And, Adam Crane, we'll call it what it is. Adam was trying to be much more realistic in many ways, I would say here, and probably was taking that slightly longer line around the pit lane, whereas Andrew and Marco in front of him may have just driven through the pit stalls, being a little bit naughty, doing one of those things that you can only get away in the simulator.
Racing lines, well, they do come into picture in the pit lane as well, it seems, at this stage. So Crane missing out on the party just by a little bit. But again, I'm pretty sure that although he's lost one position, he's a driver good enough to make those positions up all the way back in through. But my main concern over here is not going to be the drivers going for clean overtakes, because we know these guys at the top, they're such quality drivers that they can actually get things done very cleanly. The problem comes in at the traffic, because we've seen that Kinsella has been held up a fair few times by the cars up ahead of him, and Brazil loses quite a bit of pace when there is a matter of dodging through the traffic as well. So how they play that out is going to be pretty much the key to success. And just for Oman as well, Arjuna, I think if I'm not mistaken, he's made up quite a few positions here today. So Oman having a very good day at Iowa.
He has indeed, and more importantly, he's in front of the leader. So at some point, maybe coming around the start-finish line the next time around, he's going to get back onto the lead lap. Jesper Orman, though, see on your screen right now, 47 laps in this stint, so he's going to be due for a pit stop soon. And you know, Sumo, this is a gamble. You try and play the gamble to get a lap back, but if you don't get another caution, you risk going several more laps down, because a green flag pit stop here, well, that's not what you really want in a long green flag run.
Indeed, you lose about 2 laps on a regular green flag pit stop over here at Iowa. And yeah, Iowa may be a circuit that may be slightly generous to comebacks, but again, 2 laps is no joke. Getting that back without having a lot of luck on your side is going to be very tricky, as we now see the lapped cars being allowed to go past the field. So Arjuna, things can be very tricky over here. It's all about being very calm, very level-headed, and having the best strategy, because going under the pit stops at the green flags, it just may backfire quite a bit. But again, you may have to gamble on the caution as well. So things can play out quite a bit tricky over here, but I can't wait to see how this next green flag run plays out, because we're just under around 100 laps left for the end of this race. Things are going to be very fun over here.
Just a reminder, bottom right corner of your screen, live timing is available. Timing71.org. Feel free to dive into all types of data that you can find. It's very fun to just play around after the race as well. You get a full race replay as things happened, but the pace truck's going to pull back down into the pit lane, leave the field in control of Andrew Kinsella. And as we work lap 121, we're well past the halfway mark here, and it is the Canadian who leads us back to the green flag. And straight away, Adam Crane was really on the tail there, and he's looking to the outside of Marco Brazil. He gets a little bit squirrely though, has to check up quite hard, and that's going to release Marco into second place, and they're going to stay single file throughout most of the front of your field there. Now getting all separated, you take a look on the left-hand side again, you'll see the quick overview of the standings. You can see now 8 cars on the lead lap, Sumo. So there's a little bit more, players in this now.
Yeah, exactly. But still, all the other cars who are on a lap down, they can actually get it back done in yet another caution. So for these guys, they're having quite a few people competing. And now here we come, though. Brazil down the inside, Arjuna.
Down the inside, he's been so strong there, but both of these cars on fresh rubber. Andrew Kinsella going to roll that outside line where he's preferred to run, and Marco's got a nose ahead. They're going to come across the line with Marco into the race lead, and in fact, Andrew decided to just back off, and right now, Adam Crane looking down to that inside as well, and he's got the run. He's looking into the inside for second place. He checks up a little bit, just trying to pressure Andrew Kinsella a little bit more, and there you go. He's already slid up the track and got the position done. So Andrew Kinsella back down from the race lead now in third, Sumo, and you can see behind as well, Liam Quinn, Luis Gonzalez Nunez. That caution has really just mixed things up once again.
It's going to be a proper hunting party right at the top with all the guys fighting out for the lead. Things are getting so interesting now. Here he comes, though. Kinsella fighting back as well. You can take the battle, you can take him out of the battle, but you can never take the battle out of Kinsella. He's fighting back yet again now, Arjuna. Wow! Nose to tail all of these guys.
This is a great battle out front. This is the type of racing we saw at the start of your race, but we had a few long green flag run cycles that kind of just spread the field out, but right now Adam Crane really getting a little bit loose coming out of turn number 2, and Andrew Kinsella really getting very close. And in fact, that's opened the door now to Liam Quinn down to the inside, but that high line, we're starting to hit that crossover point, Sumo. The low line seemingly stronger earlier in the run where you have that, more grip, more rubber available on the tires, but as the run goes on, as those tires just wear, that outside line where Andrew Kinsella is now, well, that's the stronger line as Andrew gets a little bit squirrely there.
Exactly, and the thing that happened with Kinsella is he just got too close to comfort with Crane, and what really happened in that case, Dirty Air coming in, he had to back off a little bit, and that just threw him into the grasp of Liam Quinn, who seems to be on the prowl right now. Team Talent, of course, not exactly the most popular team in the YouTube chat, but they've certainly proven time and again that they have quite a few quality drivers who can get things done when the moment arrives, and Liam Quinn, he certainly seems to be in that pressure situation. Can he get P3 right now?
And unfortunately, Liam's teammate Andreas like had that first spin of the day on lap number 1 coming out of turn number 2. He's down in 12th place, just down 1 lap right now, but we've seen some great battles between the team talent teammates. Not going to have that on offer for you guys today. It is, though, this great 5-car battle we have out front. It's not just a 5-car battle, though, Sumo. You jump back to 6th place, and Tim Doyle, well, it's about 2 seconds behind the leader, but, one of the drivers who didn't qualify well is all the way up here in 6th, and your winner at Richmond still in with a chance here.
If you could, just keep one major eye on Tim Doyle, because if the last race at Richmond is anything to go by, this man will be right at the top. And look at him, he's just closing up the gap at this stage. And Tim Doyle, as you rightly mentioned, didn't really qualify very well, but the thing with Tim Doyle is he's so opportunistic. He spots opportunities like cautions and tries to make the best use out of that. Again, resourcefulness is his name, is the name of his game, and right now in P6 he's doing a fairly decent job. Before we could get to around, what, lap 160, 165, I can see right at the top over there in the battle for the top 4.
Yeah, and Tim actually clipped the yellow line, got a little bit loose. A very good save there, able to just quickly adjust the steering, but we take a look at the battle for 2nd place. It's like a mirror image of what we saw at that first stint. Marco Brazil, that gap now up to 1 second, and once again, the cork in the bottle, well, it's Adam Crane, and he's got Andrew Kinsella right behind him. Unfortunately, Sumo, there's no Christian Steele that's going to be able to come in here and work his way up towards the point.
Yeah, very unlucky race for Christian Steele right there. He had probably the best car on the grid right here. But again, short speedways, it can bite back any point of time. And we saw the lap traffic over there spinning around, and Christian Steele had no point and no choice, rather, I must say, but to ram into the back of him. And that was race over in a matter of seconds. He's visibly very angry in the YouTube chats as well. And he has every single reason to be, because that could have been a win in the bag. But right now, it's all about Crane and Kinsella and how they're dueling out. It takes 2 to tango over here, and these guys are certainly putting that into the equation at this stage.
Working lap 21 of the stint, which obviously includes 1 or 2 laps under caution. So about 50 more laps until we hit that pit window, Sumo. So just trying to do some math in my head. It opens up the possibility that some of these cars could decide to come in for fuel only, and if they were feeling very, very brave indeed, well, maybe just leave the tires in the pit lane and save maybe 2 or 3 seconds, Sumo. Is that a gamble at a track like this that you'd be willing to take? It, in my opinion, it's a very big gamble, but if you're someone like Liam Quinn right here, you're battling for 4th place and you're losing a lot of time to the leader right now, it might be an option you start to consider.
I would much rather not, in my opinion, because the thing with these tires is that Speedway like Iowa, once you get to those stages, like say lap 60 or lap 65, the drop-off is insane, around 1 second, 1.5 seconds right there, and you can actually gain in quite a bit of time at that particular stage instead of going for the gamble with the tires. So older tires, initially, it may actually help out because you've got a couple of seconds saved in the pit lane, but later on, it's going to bite back quite a bit, and for these drivers, they're just going to lose out more time than they gain in the pit lane.
Just an idea that someone maybe with a crazy strategy might try. We're continuing to watch the battle for 3rd and 4th. There's a good battle happening for 7th and 8th as well between Jesper Orman and Stefan Walder. They're fighting on the edge of the lead lap, so every time they fight, they're losing more time to your race leader, and that gap between Adam Crane and the race leader, well, Sumo, up to 2 seconds now. This traffic, well, Marco has this time managed to find just that perfect opportunity to pass almost all of these guys. Gap now up to almost 3 seconds.
Well, he just may be feeling on top of the world right now, because 2.6 seconds, wow, that's a mad gap right there. But we have seen with Marco himself early on in this race that gap, well, it doesn't really take a lot of time to get that gap back down, because it may be a caution, it may be Marco encountering some traffic, who knows what can happen. So Adam Crane, he may be far, but he's not that far as well, so things can actually change quite a bit. And for Adam Crane at this stage, it's all about keeping his head down. Well, if he's actually wearing a visor, putting his visor down right now and just trying to get the best of this race. But again, Marco Brazil, the gap just before we started this conversation, around 2.6 seconds. Now, Arjuna, 3 seconds. What has this guy had for breakfast? He's on fire.
Well, he's making full use of that clean air out front. I think, unfortunately, what happened for Marco in that first green flag run of the race, he got into the traffic a little bit sooner, and that just slowed him down a little bit more. There you can see there's only one car really in his eye line. There's a few cars further up the field, but Sumo, when you have them a bit more spread out, and when you're the first car in the field and, you know, leading and always the first car on the scene in many ways, it becomes a little bit easier to pass. As once again, there you can see just down to the inside and keeping his preferred line. That's exactly what Marco wants to be doing for the next 75 laps.
At some point of time, being the Lone Ranger helps, because for Marco Aurelio Brazil, if he's involved in the scrap with 2 other people, passing the lap traffic is going to be very, very tricky. But right now, because he's alone and because he has all the clean air in the world, the lap cars can identify, okay, I need to let him pass. And just as we saw a couple of seconds ago, that is what Brazil did, and he's gaining time in that very regard right here. So this is the golden opportunity for Marco Aurelio Brazil to pull out a huge gap and trying to establish his control on this race. But for the other guys, well, it's all about keeping their heads down and trying to make the best of this particular time, because for them, it's a tricky position to be in, but later on, they can claw back in.
They could indeed, and there's some speculation in the YouTube chat that Marco may have short fueled, and once again, just trying to do some very quick mental math in my head, trying to just see how that's going to affect the fuel strategy, but 3 seconds is the gap. We watched the battle for second and third on your screen. It is the championship leader running in second place right now. And, you know, I mentioned it briefly at the top, Sumo, but Hugo Olsen, he's been leading basically since round number 4 when we jumped into the booth and started broadcasting these races. Well, 5 rounds later, Adam Crane, just solid, consistent results and put himself out front, and, you know, going to head into round number 10 out of 15 next time around. And we're heading to that point where you start losing that drop week advantage. You start needing as many points as you can get. So Adam Crane has put himself in a very strong position in second place right now. He'll be very happy with how the race has been going.
He really will be, and with Hugo Olsen, we've seen time and again that he shows exactly what we mean by Swedish dependency. But because he's not been around over here for the last couple of weeks, Adam Crane has filled up the vacuum so well. And being in P2 right now, in terms of the championship, it's a fantastic result. But as a racing driver, you know, you always have that intention in the back of your mind that if I'm competing in a race, I'm here to win. Not for second place, but for P1. So for Crane right now, he may be very satisfied with P2, but somewhere in the back of his mind, he may be thinking, all right, let me put the hammer down, let me get P1. And right now, it certainly isn't helping out for him at this stage, because Marco Aurelio Brazil, 3.2 seconds the gap for him. Oh, big, oh, Kinsella going wide.
Yeah, Kinsella hit the yellow line, and just like Tim Doyle did a few laps ago, that really checks up your momentum. And once again, a fantastic save there from the Canadian. But the gap now over a second, and it's going to keep increasing as it takes a while for that 11 car to just build up its momentum again. Sorry, Sumo, didn't want to interrupt you there, but that battle between second and third, well, it's just stretched out a little bit more.
Oh no, it's a necessary interruption in this case, because Kinsella having a big moment over there. Again, momentum is critical at this circuit. You go on the yellow line, you lose a bit of time, and for Kinsella, that is exactly what has happened. What, approximately 7 tenths lost, and a Marco Aurelio Brazil under all the traffic. Right now, this is when the lead gets tricky. 2.5 seconds the gap has been cut down to. Remember, it was around 3.3 seconds a minute ago. Brazil under pressure right now, and it's going to be so much fun to see how he reacts to this one.
And this is what happened in that first stint. Well, Marco built up a fairly healthy gap in those first 20 laps of the race, 30 laps of that green flag run. And then as the traffic started to get a little bit heavier, well, that gap started to get eaten away. And just wanted to point out that Stefan Walder and Jesper Orman, the 2 cars that got a lap back, well, unfortunately, no caution came out, and now respectively 3 and 4 laps down from your race leader.
Oh, boy.
That gamble did not pay off, Sumo, but it's all about the battle at the front. And we'll just quickly bring it up on the left-hand side of your screen once again, because there's only 6 cars on the lead lap right now, and I think it's worth just taking an eye and keeping your eye on all of these drivers, because any one of them, Sumo, as we start to approach that window of, you know, pit stops, any of these drivers could come in conceivably and make it. You know, we wouldn't expect that given you go 3 or 4 laps down, but those are the 6 drivers really fighting for the race win.
Wait, already? I think it was just 5 minutes ago until they came in for the last stop. The pace at these short speedways is mind-blowing, incredibly. I mean, the Iowa Speedway, of course, is proclaimed to be the fastest short track in the world, and we are seeing exactly that right here, with the laps just flying past second after second. So pit stops could be on the picture right here. and how they manage that out is going to be super intense. Again, some of them could be banking on a caution, some of them banking, you know, on green flag running. The way it cycles out towards the end is going to be tricky, as we now see Marco Aurelio Brazil passing Andreas Heik, and for Andreas Heik it must be such a sinking feeling, because had it not been for his incident at the start, he could have been right here. He could have been fighting for the lead, but again, when the going gets tough, you know, the tough get going, and for Andreas Heik, sadly, that incident putting him all the way back. So the lead out of his hand, but we are seeing quite a few battles over here with Tim Doyle in the heat of the action.
Yeah, unfortunately for Andreas Heik, he's still in P number 9, so qualified P3. He's had a good fight back from that first lap incident. We watch Tim Doyle getting his way past one of the 3 Crown Racing Indy cars. Still about 0.4 of a second behind Luis Gonzalez Nunez here, but these guys have splintered off a little bit. You saw on the left-hand side of your screen just a few moments ago, the top 6 now separated by about 8 seconds. So Marco Aurelio Brazil, he's hit some traffic, but fortunately for him, Sumo, it's fairly steady, that gap. And, you know, right now, we enter that point of the race. They're on lap 50 out of 70. I think it's any moment here. You want to be the last car to come down the pit lane. You want to be the last car risking getting caught a few laps down. And if some of these drivers are right in our YouTube chat thinking that Marco is short field a little bit, well, he's going to be one of those drivers that has a little bit more risk to think about.
Exactly, he just has a big liability on his back. And now the worst thing that could happen to Marco Aurelio Brazil is, and I hope it really doesn't happen, but for him, but if he goes into the pit lane, goes up for fuel, and then just as he gets out, there is a caution. So he ends up losing quite a bit of time on the green flag running. That's the worst case possibility. The best case could be he goes in for the pit lane, comes in with a good amount of fuel, comes in with a good amount of tires as well, a fresh amount of tires, I'm sorry, and comes back up and powers all the way out. So for Brazil, quite a few things that can potentially happen. It's all about how he's going to play that out in the end. And that short fueling, it may have paid off early on, but right now it's just like having an elephant in the room for him.
Indeed, we ride on board with the championship leader, Adam Crane. 2.5, now 2.8 seconds behind your race leader. So we're approaching the point where pit stops are imminent. That gap's not really changing too much. And throughout the top 6, it's holding fairly steady right now. Tim Doyle has gotten past Luis Gonzalez Nunez. And in fact, Adam Crane Sumo down onto the pit lane. So Adam Crane, championship leader, well, he's blinking first.
He is indeed, but the question is, when will Brazil come down to pit road? Because we know that he's short fuel. Everyone else may know that he's short fuel, but Brazil himself also has to consider that, okay, maybe I just don't want to run out with my fuel as well. So Crane, coming down pit road, when will the others blink, Arjuna? That's the critical question, because if we have green flag running, these pit stops could literally define the end of the race.
The gap between Brazil and Kinsella as well, up to 4.5. So Marco Brazil really trying to just put on the pace right now. And there you can see the stop from Adam Crane, 8.3 seconds. So it was still a fairly long stop, and he's got about 50 laps still to go. And going to cycle out into fairly clean traffic. I do believe he's just being passed by Liam Quinn. Oh, but here comes actually some slower cars, and Sumo, this is where it gets a little bit trickier. Timing your pit stop as Andrew Kinsella as well down on the pit lane. There you can see Tim Doyle. So Adam Crane has come out right in a hornet's nest.
Exactly. You know, if there's one thing you can learn from Ferrari strategists, you have to make sure that you come off on the right time, because if not, all the traffic could suck up the advantage that you have with the fresh tires right here. And for Crane, it just seems to be a textbook example of just that. Kinsella, where is he coming out though? Does he have fresh air? Oh, moment! Big moment right there. Kinsella getting on the power too early, and he slides again!
He slides again, and there's Adam Crane around the outside. So I think Andrew Kinsella, as a virtue of a shorter time in pit lane, actually had the overcut executed. And then unfortunately 2 slides on the pit exit. Well, Sumo, that's all it takes, a brief moment. And we now just await the race leader down on the lane. And Andrew Kinsella getting very close to the lapped car there.
Oh no, Kinsella, it's all going wrong for him at this stage. Firstly, the oversteer, then the lap traffic. How much worse can it get for Kinsella right now? Boy, he's losing up time, a heap of time in a matter of seconds over here. And now is that Tim Doyle that he's facing pressure from right now. Kinsella, oh boy. What can possibly go wrong now?
And that's Liam Quinn coming out of the pit lane. So we jump to your race leader, Marco Brazil, who leads by 12 seconds. There you go, Tim Doyle, another car still yet to come down the lane. And we now await the race leader. And Sumo, at this point, I don't think anyone has any answer for the Brazilian. He's leading the race. He's got such a margin behind him. If he gets this pit stop executed perfectly, well, It's going to be right now. He's just got to execute this perfectly. He'll come back out in the race lead.
But Will Arjuna, it's easier said than done. We saw that with Kinsella as well. Coming out of the pit lane, it's so easy to forget that these Indy cars, I say it time and again, and there's a reason behind that. 700 horsepower. But if you have cold tires, those 700 horsepower can just snap on you so badly that you end up facing the wrong way. Kinsella thankfully putting his Scandinavian flick tutorials to use, and he kept the car under control, but boy, he lost up so much time, and now it's all for Brazil to lose at this stage. How will it pan out for him? Well, the iRacing pit crew are having a nice chat over there, just as we are in the commentary box. But Brazil comes out over here. Quick pit stop, though.
Yeah, good pit stop, and we'll ride on board with him and see how he takes. He's going to come right out onto the track, which you can do here. And there you can see the gap behind. No one there, and as Christopher Block makes his way around, we'll pull up the gap on your screen. Gap between the race leaders, well, 2.5 seconds, Sumo. We've got about 40 laps to go here. I think right now it's all for Marco Brazil to just coast home, and he's going to be praying and hoping we don't get another yellow flag.
Exactly. You know, at this stage, I wish I could tell you what is exactly going to happen right now at the Iowa 225, but I don't know. That's the fun part. You see, Marco Brazil is at the top, but we've seen so many times that anything can happen. You see, a caution can come out, a driver can close up drastically over here, and for Brazil, he could just even encounter traffic. Again, not putting any commentator's curse on him, but that's the beauty of short-circuit racing. So Aurelio Brazil, he will know that a lot of things can happen. It's all about laying down the gauntlet, putting your best performances in, being consistent as possible, and then hoping for the best. But now Adam Crane on the fight back, 1.15 seconds. Crane has been fast, but he's not really seemed to have the X factor as someone like, say, Brazil has had since the start of this race. So maybe not. It could be in the reckoning for the race, but I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out. I just can't wait to see how this ends in this one. That's the beauty of short-circuit racing.
Yeah, well, the good thing is, I kind of had said coming out of the pit stops that that gap had stayed steady. It hasn't, because Adam Crane, he came out of the pit lane and immediately set to work on his fresh tires. Well, he reeled in the gap by about a second a lap, and now Marco Brazil 1.5 seconds in front. He's got slightly fresher tires, Sumo, so while there might be some challenge from behind here, I think if Marco is able to just make his way through the traffic as clinically as we've seen him do in the last about 70 laps or so, I think he's in a very strong place here. And Andrew Kinsella is about 2 seconds behind Adam Crane as well, so your podium position's looking fairly stable right now.
Yeah, but you kind of had a feeling that Kinsella, had it not been for those double whammy incidents that he got just as he exited out of the pit lane, he could have been right in the battle for this one, and he could have been fighting Adam Crane. But again, racing is all about ifs and buts and would-be's and have-been. So let's keep that aside. Let's focus on the battle for the top. As you rightly mentioned, stabilizing a little bit right now, but Crane, you know, the gap was around 2.4 seconds down on the 2.5, now 2.6 at this stage. So Marco Brazil, using the best, making the best use of all the clean air that he's got right now. And just as he has shown for the last 70-80 odd laps, he has the power in that car. He has such a good setup, he has such great amount of confidence, and critically, clean air as well.
Yeah, he got the pole position, ran away with it for a little bit. He's had some adversity to overcome. Back out in front right now and leading by 3 seconds, so the gap, Subal, it's actually back to basically one of the larger gaps it's been so far in this race, as Andrew Kinsella, in fact, continues to close in for second place, so it might be second where we take a look for a fight rather than right out the front.
Exactly, but we are seeing Marco Brazil encountering a little bit of traffic right now, so the gap that was around, what, 2.5 seconds right earlier on, it has fallen back to 3.1, but it can close up very quickly considering how dramatic the traffic can have, how dramatic of an influence the traffic can have. My apologies right here. So Kinsella and Crane, this is the main battle to focus up on, but Brazil, calm as you like, leading from the front with what, barely around 28 odd laps left to go. Wow, time really flies, Arjuna.
This has been one of the shortest broadcasts I can remember, Sumo, despite the fact coming into it 225 laps, you know, the real race in just a few hours time is going to be 250. I expected it to be a lot longer, but it's flown by. Someone though who's not going to be too happy, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, well, he's running in the top 5 for much of this race. That last pit stop of his was 1 minute and 41 seconds, so I believe potentially some damage, maybe some pit penalties coming into play for that driver. Sumo, he's all the way down in 15th now, 8 laps down, as Oh, Andrew Kinsella, in fact, gets a little bit checked up there by one of the Three Crowns Racing's machine. This is where the traffic sumo is going to play into the battle for second place.
Exactly, and Kinsella, we've seen him suffer time and again from that. Can he get it done this time out? That's the major question. And now, Arjuna, just to add another element into the mix, there is so much to consider now. When you come on to a race like this one in Iowa, when you're cornering for literally 225 laps at a stretch, your mental strength, and your focus comes under a great amount of strain. So as we see Kinsella at this stage, he will have to be so aware. And if he's just a little bit tired mentally, it could have such a major impact, because then he could end up making rookie mistakes that could cost him the entire race. So Kinsella having to be very calm, very focused, and if he's fatigued, boy, that can have a major impact.
But he made that move look super easy. Andrew Kinsella up into second place right now. Adam Crane didn't even put up a fight there. So the championship leader content to just slot into third place here. He knows he's got a good healthy gap behind him. There you can see on your screen the gap to Liam Quinn from Team Talent. It's about 4 seconds now. So we have just over 20 laps to go. And Andrew Kinsella, well, he's got a few more laps here to try and close in that gap, Sumo. He might have one of the strongest long-run cars here, but 3.8 seconds in 20 laps. He's got a lot of work to try and do, and he's going to need a lot of help from traffic.
Traffic and perhaps even a yellow flag to sort of help things out for his behalf. So Kinsella, 4 seconds of a gap. Well, that's not easy to close down in. And I may just have shot at the understatement of the day, but for Kinsella, he will just have to pull out a miracle from the hat and just hope that luck is on his side, because Brazil, he's grabbing this race by both hands, and this major opportunity, well, he knows that he won't let it go, and he's doing such a phenomenal job for that one. But Crane as well, 0.8 of a second. Now, Crane, we have seen him falling behind, but something on the other can happen. As we see, what is that Brazil having a bit of a Larry moment over there, Arjuna?
He's having to make his way through quite a lot of traffic still. He's got 2 or 3 more cars he's going to have to pass in the next few laps. The gap, though, Sumo, is what I was just pointing out, as you can see a car just appearing in front of the number 4, the yellow car, but the gap now 4 seconds, Sumo, so Kinsella might have a very strong long-run pace, but I think it's fair to say that's Tim Doyle going slowly. That is. So Tim Doyle's got damage on the front wing as well. Something has just happened, and he's going very slowly. No caution. But there is something happening to the car. That's the last car on the lead lap. In fact, now he's going a lap down, and in short order, he's going to continue falling down the field.
Poor old Tim Doyle. I mean, he was fighting up against the Raging Bull in terms of the level of competition that he had in this race. Starting from the back, having to recover all the way down. I think he went a lap down as well, if I'm not mistaken, early on. So coming back from this, it was going to be such a tricky recovery drive. And that front wing damage, oh dear, it just made me so agonizing for him. All the efforts that he put in, just going for a toss.
Going for a toss indeed. He's still in 5th place right now, but he's losing, Sumo, 5 seconds a lap. So, in just every 3 laps time, he's going to continue losing a lap, and he's going to just continue falling through the field right now. Let's jump back, though, to the battle for the race lead. The gaps come down by about a second, so Andrew Kinsella has shaved off that gap a little bit, but now 14 laps to go, just ticked over right as I was about to read the label there. But Sumo, 5 seconds between your top 3, and I think we can quickly just start to reflect on the racing here as we start also to look forward to the race in 2 hours' time. Live on NBCSN, it is going to be the Iowa Corn 250, and based on this race, it's been so exciting. I cannot wait for today's race and just how exciting it's going to be.
Indeed, that's the fun thing to watch out for. Well, Iowa is known for its cornfields, but there's nothing going to be nothing corny about the race that we're going to expect, because if it's going to be like the race that we're seeing right here today, it's going to be an absolute cracker. It may be 5 o'clock in the morning for me right here, but I will still sit up and watch it, because the racing is just going to be superb. And for this one as well, Arjuna, it may appear to be a bit dull considering that Brazil is leading up from the top, but the kind of action that we've seen so far, the drama, all the incidents, well, the driving, it was much better than we saw in Richmond, but overall as well, Arjuna, it's been so much fun. If the real-life IndyCar drivers can produce something quite like this one, we're in for a proper treat, I'm sure.
And comments from the track have indicated that there may be multiple grooves on offer for the drivers, so I'm very excited to see how that plays out. And something exciting as well is this weekend really honors some of these great IndyCar drivers. Today, the Grand Marshal will be Tony Kanaan, and he's going to give the command to fire the engines from inside his own car himself. And then tomorrow it's going to be Helio Castro-Neves, and obviously Helio is at IMSA, competing in that series with Team Penske as well, but he will be giving the command virtually. And Sumo, I think is great. These are two great drivers, and you know, TK obviously in his final, you know, semi-full season, and Helio, well, his last win came here at Iowa 3 years ago, so it's a track that, you know, both drivers love a lot.
And the common factor is both of these guys are Brazilian. I mean, for Helio Castroneves as well, he's known to be climbing up the chains and climbing up the cages. In fact, that's what they call. No, I'm not pretty sure what's they call it. The cage netting, pretty much, the one that prevents the drivers from flying past. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting the right term for that one, but Brazil, crucially as well, another Brazilian driver doing quite well at Iowa. So not a bit of a surprise right here. And as we now approach what the final 6 odd laps right now.
The final 6 or so laps, and there's a few cars that are doing quite a lot of fuel saving and things behind the leaders. But right now out front, Marco Brazil running away with this, and it is going to be 5 laps to go. So just a matter of a minute and a half here until he takes the checkered flag. The gap though behind Sumo, it's getting eaten away because Andrew Kinsella, he's on a charge, 1.8 seconds now. 5 laps to go. Is it going to be enough time?
Oh, that's going to be so tricky to watch out for. Now 1.7 seconds, Arjuna. It was around 4 seconds a couple of laps ago. So Kinsella really on the charge. This is the fun part. This closing gap up 10th after 10th after 10th. So Kinsella seems to have the edge. But is he going to be enough? I don't really think so, because we've only got a handful of laps left right now, and the gap is just too big. So Brazil seems to have done enough in the early parts.
It was half a second that lap before. Not sure what it was that last time around. 0.3 of a second according to my timing screen. Gap 1.2 seconds. 2 laps to go. Marco Brazil comes across the stripe to take the white flag next time around. Then is the gap going to be lower than a second? Andrew Kinsella struggling a little bit with, I believe that's Andreas Eich in front of him. So no, I believe that challenge just stalled out a little bit too late, and it was a close finish, but the white flag is out. It is Marco Brazil who takes it. 16 seconds to go, and 10 Factory Sim Racing are going to be celebrating a well-deserved race win. He took the pole position. He had to fight quite hard in the middle stages of the race, but once he got back out front, he's made it look easy. And Marco Brazil, time to celebrate again. Race winner here in the IndyCar iRacing Series.
Brazil winning from the top, a commanding drive for him. Again, he set up a car for the short sprints and it paid off in the end. A gamble, he rolled the dice, and in the end he got all the big returns. Racing, in essence, is a game of high-speed poker, and Brazil in the end, the winner at Iowa Speedway. I'm sorry. And he'll be having some corn at the end as well, that's for sure.
He's going to start with some donuts and then maybe work his way over into the corn indeed. But there we go, doing a little bit of a donuts as he looks to try and find a way down onto the pit lane. But that is the end of the race. We'll go ahead, take a look at your race results. So it was Marco Aurelio Brazil for 10 Factory Sim Racing, who won by just 0.7 of a second from Andrew Kinsella. So the Canadian really on a charge at the end there, but just a little bit too late. Championship leader Adam Crane continues to extend his gap out front, getting another solid podium position here. Last car on the lead lap was the 4th place Liam Quinn. The only car a lap down, well, David Soranzo. And we go back through the field, Christopher Block, Andreas Eich, Stefan Walder, Vincent Wallen, and then Tim Dahl, who we saw with that issue late in the race, still able to secure a top 10. The rest of your field, Matt Houston, Chris Wilty, John Downing, Connie Nasland, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, Jesper Orman, Cesar Manzado, Christian Steele, who unfortunately was taken out in an incident with a lapped car from the lead of this motor race. The final 3 cars, Daniel Noventa, Matt Pavelski. And I don't believe it's going to show the final finisher, but Laura Gerhard retired on lap 168, so finishing quite a ways back. So with that said, it's time to take a little bit of a short break here on the iRacing Esports Network. Don't go anywhere. Post-race coverage of the IndyCar iRacing Series is coming up right after these messages. Hopefully get a few of the interviews with some of the top drivers. We'll see you after this break. Don't go anywhere.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
door-to-door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race.
Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett low. 4 wide at the stripe.
For all his work here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out?
Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron. Drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
After one of the craziest races that I can remember in IndyCar iRacing history, it is Marco Aurelio Brazil who takes home the checkered flag, and we sit here in the virtual booth, and as always joined by Sumal Aurora. Sumal, just quickly grab your thoughts as we wait for hopefully a few of these drivers to jump into our team speak for interviews. But we were just talking about it. That was just a 90-minute broadcast, but the amount of action that we had, I think it really was one of the best races we've seen so far this season.
It really was. I mean, Richmond was a little bit of a drag, if I'll be honest, but the race here at Iowa, my goodness, what a fun one this was. I mean, we saw constant side-by-side racing, a few crashes here and there that kept things entertaining, but the strategy in the end, the way Marco Brazil kept it together, superb.
And we did get to chat with Christian Steele mid-race, just after that incident took him out. Good to get his thoughts and his opinions. I think, Sumal, it's not too unfair to say that he probably would have been the race winner if we had gone from there. He had built up a very commanding lead, and his teammate Matt Pavelski had also shown the strength of that car, but, ultimately just Iowa really just bit both of those guys. The fastest short track on the planet, well, it can also be the most dangerous.
Exactly, and that's what happens with speedway racing. It's not like a road course where you actually have a fair bit of space to go here and there. In the speedways, well, one tiny mistake by the guy up ahead of you, and you're traveling at such a high speed, 180 miles per hour over here, that you just have no time at all to react. And for Christian Steele, unfortunately, well, that's race over in a matter of a blink of an eye.
Well, with that said, we do have the race winner here in Sumal. Why don't you take it away and talk to Marco Brazil for Tent Factory Sim Racing?
Yes, indeed. Firstly, Marco, congratulations. What a brilliant drive that was right there. Marco, do you copy? Well, there just seems to be a bit of a technical issue over here. Marco, can you hear us, mate?
So unfortunately, it does seem like Marco's having some technical issues at this time, but hopefully he can get them resolved and we can talk to him in just a moment's time. But while we wait, we'll bring into the booth Andrew Kinsella. And, Andrew, a second place here, continuing your strong results in this series. But, unfortunately, that late race pace just came in a little bit too late for you to close in that gap out front. But you must still be fairly happy with second place.
I'm honestly pretty frustrated. Just coming out of the pits on the last stop, I spun the tires, and then I have no idea why, but David Soranzo decided to take it 3 wide into 1, nearly lost it, and cost me 2 seconds, and I finished less than a second behind the guy who won the race. So, like, the tires did exactly what I was expecting it to, but when you have that happen, like I think back to like Mark Blundell at Road America 1996 in the quote, like the guy knows how to drive. Like, clearly David knows how to drive, but he doesn't know how to race. I don't know why he would take it 3 wide in a turn 1 when the cars are handling like this. But it is what it is. The car was definitely strong, especially in the long run. It didn't have the short run pace that we needed to fend off Marco and Adam. And then, definitely feel like I let that one slip away a little bit. Nearly got back, but wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, we were actually riding on board with you and saw both of those little sideways moments coming out of the pits, but I actually wanted to ask you about a moment slightly earlier in the race, because in that first green flag run, it was interesting that you got a little bit stuck behind Adam Crane for a few laps in the race, and then almost took Christian Steele coming through the field for you to find a way past. Were you just getting a little bit bottled up, or were you just trying to do a little bit of saving and manage the strategy, knowing that you had a better long run car than Marco out front?
Yeah, no, Adam, I mean, he's entitled to it, but he was doing a really good job running the lines that I needed to run to make my car work well. Definitely Steele had the best car. Steele and Pavelski both had the best car in the race, hands down. It would have been a 1-2 if they hadn't run into issues very close together there in the early beginning. I was doing my best to fend off Matt towards the end of that run, but like, he had Marco's pace on the short run, but on the long run, his car didn't fall off like Marco's did. But basically, yeah, I ended up getting by Adam just because of some lap traffic and timing the run right. And he was running different lines almost every lap, which made it very, very difficult to predict where he was going to go. And then every time you lose momentum, it takes you 3 laps to get it back. So just with Christian getting by him, I think Adam probably lost a little bit of momentum when Christian got by, and then I was able to use my momentum to get by him. As fast and as flat out as this track is, it is a very much a momentum circuit where if you get balled up by a lap car, or if you get aero wash and have to lift off, you're really at the mercy of the cars behind you. And so I think that was probably how we got by Adam the first time. And then, just like later in the race, once he and Marco got by me on that restart, I couldn't find a way by him because he was just running the lines I needed to run.
So now that we've finished up with Iowa, one final question for you, Andrew, is the next short oval on the calendar is Gateway. And, we saw such a fantastic race here tonight. Maybe if you get a chance to go back and watch it, you'll see some of the action that we saw. But, Richmond was a little bit less exciting, if it's fair for us to say. But, what are your expectations going to Gateway? And is that a race that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, Gateway is a lot of fun. I think it'll be a good race. It's a little bit flatter than Iowa, but at the same time, it's bigger. I think the issue with Richmond is it's honestly just a little too small for these cars. Iowa is just like the smallest that I would go, and Richmond's just slightly smaller than that. And it just doesn't give you enough room to maneuver, whereas here and at Gateway, you can get runs on people. You can run different lines. There's enough spacing in between the cars that it's much more of a tactical race, and I feel like at Richmond it's very much just a strategy race and figuring out when the best time to pit is. So yeah, I think the Gateway is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. And I have no doubt the Power Slide is going to give me another fast car for that race, and just looking forward to it.
With that being said, anyone else from Team Power Slide and anyone else that you would like to thank this time?
Yeah, definitely. I think Adam Blocker and Laura. They really developed this setup earlier in last week as well, earlier this week and last week, and just made a couple of quick small changes to it that I think made it really, really nice. But yeah, just thanks to everyone at Powerside. It's always a team effort, and thanks to you guys for broadcasting.
Well, congrats on the second. It might not have been a first, but another good result for Andrew Kinsella. See you in a few weeks' time at Mid-Ohio. With that said, let's try Sumo once again and bring in your race winner, Marco Brazil. Sumo, you have him.
Marco, mate, can you hear us firstly? Well, Marco, do you copy by any chance? Oh dear.
So on
again.
Yeah, on,
Hello?
Oh, there we go.
Ah, perfect. Marco, can you hear us?
Hi guys.
Firstly, Marco, congratulations, man. What a drive in the end. Fantastic result.
Oh, fantastic race, guys. Fantastic. I'm so happy to performance of my car. As always, I fight alone. That is my. It is even more rewarding to win a race of great teams and drivers with 5G, Power Slide, Team Talent, and others. I've always been the fastest in qualify, P1 and qualify, and now I'm a specialist in the race setups, improve every race. Second time win in this broadcast race, first in Texas, third position in the other track, again first place. I'm very happy, man.
Well, Marco, you have every right to be happy. And let's speak a little bit about the strategy, because I think you set up your car for shorter stints, and in the end it paid off quite well, didn't it?
For me, the strategy is the car with the more fuel possible to, if I can, the flag, yellow flag, I'm stay on track to not lost the lap. Every time I go in the stretch, in front my car in clean air is much more faster than others, but the tires, one problem to improve in my cars is a tires in final of stint, but very happy with the car. In first period of the race, the lapped car blocked me, and the Chris Chile overtake me. He destroy my tires at this moment, and the next yellow flag I go to pit and overtake the Andrew, go first at final.
Well, Marco, once again, fantastic result. And is there anyone in particular who you'd like to thank for this particular one?
Please say again.
Is there anyone, any team members, any friends, any family members you would like to thank for this result?
Okay, my wife, Thais, and my teammates of 10th Factors in Racing, Mark, Poliadri, and other guys of the team.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Marco. Congratulations and great drive.
Thank you, guys.
So that was the race winner, Marco Brazil, and I do believe we have one more interview because Adam Crane is standing by. Adam, do you got us?
10-4. You got a copy?
We got you indeed. So Adam, it's been an interesting few weeks for you. We were just talking about you at the start of the race, and obviously you've slowly been just working your way to the top of the championship right now, and you got out there. Hugo Olsen's not been racing the last few weeks as much, so your results last week at Montreal put you out front, and out here at Iowa, a P3, getting some very solid points, and this is really proving to be a good championship run for you here.
Yeah, it's looking quite fruitful. It sucks Hugo hasn't been racing. I'm not sure what's going on there. The P3 for me at a track I honestly did not expect to be able to run earlier in the week is fantastic. Hardware problems suck, so everyone make sure that all your computer hardware is up to date and doesn't have any issues. Otherwise, you might miss running races, including broadcast ones. But yeah, it was fun there, battling with Marco and Andrew. I know that I had to work quite hard to try to confuse Andrew a little bit, to just mix up my lines a little bit, which is something normally I wouldn't do. But just because I didn't feel like I had all that much pace today, especially on older tires, I needed to be a little confusing and mix it up a little bit. But yeah, P3 I'm very, very, very happy with, and good points at the championship I will take any day of the week.
You talked about your PC issues, and obviously you missed the broadcast last week because of those PC issues, but you seem to be enjoying this series a lot, because you're not just doing these broadcaster slots, you're regularly in some of the other opportunities that you have to race this series. There's a few opportunities during the week, like this one, and on Wednesday night as well, and then there's 2 races on each of the weekends. And you obviously love the IndyCar, but how much do you think the amount of time you're committing into this series specifically is helping you in this what is hopefully going to be a strong championship run, for the next 5 races as well?
Yeah, I definitely look at the precursor races leading up to the Friday broadcast, which, by the way, thank you everyone at RaceBot and everyone involved in putting the broadcast on. Amazing job. Love every second of it. I still send the broadcast to my parents because they're stupid and bored. But yeah, the pre broadcast races I use definitely as a test session to sort of see how the car feels in the longer runs, and just develop my racecraft a little bit and figure out where on the track I can make overtakes, and see how I can adapt the car to fit the track. And yeah, I love driving the IndyCar. I love being part of this community, and I love being part of these broadcasts.
And so next week we go to Mid-Ohio. So not next week, next race. I've been saying that so much. These broadcasts have just been flowing one into one. But next race up is Mid-Ohio. And, personally, it's a track I'd love to race at. It's got everything you want, especially in this IndyCar. How confident you feeling going to there, where, there's going to be potentially some newer names who come into the series, because that is always a track where you see some newer names who are maybe just watching the IndyCar races and say, you know what? I'd like to do that in the simulator as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for Mid-Ohio. It's a track I feel pretty confident in. Fast-flowing sections towards the second and third sectors. You got to be really easy on the brakes, and I think because I'm a right foot braker, my braking technique tends to be particularly easy on the tires on the car. As for competitors, man, am I ever glad that I wasn't racing last week against Matt, because that would have been super demoralizing. But the more people that are involved in these races, the better the competition, the higher the strength of field, and the more championship points for the championship.
Well, with that said, Adam, one more question before you let you go. Anyone you'd like to thank at this time for what is another podium position here?
Well, obviously, thank everyone at RaceBot, including yourself and Sumo for putting these races on. Thank everyone at Gruesome Sport, and my parents who will probably be watching later.
Well, we say hi to Adam's parents. And Adam, congratulations once again, and we'll see you in a few weeks' time for Mid-Ohio.
Thanks, guys. Look forward to it.
So there were interviews with your top 3 and Sumo. I think that's all we have time for, but just quickly, now that we've talked to all 3 of those guys, how excited are you for this next 6-race stretch where we've got a few road tracks, we've got a few short ovals, then we've got Indianapolis Motor Speedway as well. It's really got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with the IndyCar Series. Again, to win over here, it just isn't about being strong in one particular kind of track. It's about being strong everywhere, be it super speedways, short speedways, or road courses as well. And that's the one thing I love so much about this championship. I can't wait for Arjuna. If the action is going to be a bit like this one, bring it on.
Bring it on indeed. And there you can see the schedule for the rest of the season. We've got 3 races in the month of August, but we've got a few weeks off now. Just a reminder though, from the next race onwards, all drivers will need to submit their paints to racebot.media, a brand new media center that RaceBot is developing. You'll be able to log in with your Gmail account, integrate that verify it with iRacing. No more issues with wrong file names or things like that. Well, we're trying to simplify that process quite a bit. So just a reminder, racebot.media. Make sure to submit your files 24 hours before the next broadcast to ensure they get in on there. With that being said, though, as ever, thank you for joining us here on the iRacing Esports Network for Racebot TV's coverage of the IndyCar iRacing Series. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. As ever, I've been joined by Sumil Arora in the virtual commentary booth, and we'll see you in a few weeks' time from Mid-Ohio. Enjoy what will be a very exciting doubleheader at Iowa.